So I changed the starter and had the exact same problem with the brand new gear. I'm just gonna get a new starter.
Sometimes you gotta build it.
It's a much better design, but a lot more work.
Just to tear it down.
So I'll start over from scratch.
Only to build it better again. Because if you're not gonna do it right, why do it at all?
It's another spectacular day here. I'm going to change the starter on the little riding mower and maybe take it running around to clear some land. So we'll see. Hopefully it starts. I just went and got the battery charger, so I'm charging it from the RV, and got it charging on the ground over there, so we'll see what happens. I'm back again with the riding mower. I got it running over here, and I started mowing and got it stuck, and when I got out of the seat, it killed the engine, and the battery needed to be charged a little longer. So I had to go get another extension cord to go the additional, whatever it was, 15 feet. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Today I'm loading up all this stuff, all the batteries and the electrical and the tools, sawhorses, and I'm gonna get started on building the battery pack of the property. Okay, I just backed car over here to unload and set up all the batteries and start wiring. I just cleared a fairly large section, but I got it stuck in a big bush over there. So I'm gonna switch to that location and work on the battery. All right, so here's what I got going on. Got a little easy up. I got some sawhorses. I'm gonna make a little table out here. Tools on the ground. Battery packs, tools on the side of the trailer. So this is how I'm gonna work on this on the property. All right, this is the current battery pack setup. It's 4 12-volt batteries together in series. So these 4 batteries will be removed, and all of those batteries over there will line up in here. I got to remove quite a bit of stuff. Well, at least this section and this section all have to go, because underneath of there I got to be able to get to the shunt, because I'm installing a new shunt, and I'll be installing that contactor relay as well. So this will be organized differently. All right, so the first step, turn everything off. Fans, inverter, DC charging power from the solar array, and then power the charge controller, power off here. I took the shelf off here and I installed the batteries in the box just to see how much room there is and get an idea of where I'm gonna need to route. So I think this guy, I'm gonna redo the stuff on the shelf here. It's gonna be all new wire routing. So 48 volts, just like the old battery. And then this guy is gonna provide protection. And I need to install the battery management system somewhere. I'm thinking maybe along this back row right here, but we'll see. I'm gonna start to rearrange the layout for the new battery management system. And I'm gonna incorporate this gigantic contactor right here because the BMS can now control it as a function of temperature and charge and all kinds of different things. So having that control now is really helpful. The old layout of all the routing and everything and switching, I'm gonna change all that up. And I set up a little workbench here, 2 sawhorses, and that's basically what I'm gonna work on today. Hopefully I can have stuff mounted where it's gonna be and potentially even start routing new wires and crimping lugs and stuff like that, but we'll see. Okay, so what I've done is I've put the compression jig on and then I've wired them in series. So positive to negative, positive to negative, positive to negative. So now I have 56 volts from that negative to that positive. And I mounted the DIN rails back here, which is where the battery management system is going to go. The next step is to wire up the battery management system to each one of these bus bars so that the battery management system will know exactly how much voltage is at each battery, and it can charge and discharge battery independently. So I'm going to wire up that harness right now. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is I have this fuse holder. I'm gonna cut it here, and it's basically gonna go to that point right there. So I'm gonna cut it so that it can't short to any other terminal, short enough. And then I'll put one of these terminals on and I'll shrink wrap it. And then the other end of this will go to this harness. This goes into the battery management system. The other end will go to the other side of this fuse. And that's essentially how I'll have a fused line from the battery management system over to every single bus bar. So that's what I'm gonna do now. All right, so I made all of these jumpers. It's a bit of a tedious task because you gotta cut them all to length. You gotta build it up with the fuse block, and you gotta strip every one, and then you gotta crimp it 16 times. So it's a bit tedious. I need to solder these guys to those leads. So those are ready, and they will go just like this. And that will measure the voltage of that cell, and then this cell, and then that cell, and so on and so forth. And that will go up into these 16 nodes right here, and that's how the battery will know, or how this computer will know how much each battery is charged. But it wasn't too bad because this was how I was working. The final thing I did was I wired in the 12 volts here off of the BMS, and the way that works is there's an isolated DC to DC converter, so it goes from 12 volts, or from 48 volts off the battery to 12 volts, and that's what these input wires come in and do. So then I just bust them over to here and bust the negative over to here. So now I got 12 volts there going into that guy dedicated. All right, I wrapped up for the day. The workstation here and take off. so this is what I'm doing with the wiring, stripping it, winding it, and then I'll be soldering it so that I don't have to crimp it. This is the harness here. This goes to the battery management. This goes to the bus bar with the fuse, and there's all 16 harnesses together. All right, I'm back for another day. Bought some more hardware and ordered some electrical stuff. Finally got smart, brought the wagon so that I can take all the tools over there easily each day. All right, so today I'm going to tie in all the bus bars. That's why I did all the soldering, and get them up into here. And I'll probably move these two fuses. I will likely put the positive fuse over by this positive terminal and the negative fuse over by the negative terminal, so I have the shortest line. And then I'll probably mount the new current detector. So that tells me how much current's going in and out of the battery. If I have time on this shelf here, I'll redesign the top of that. I'll probably move the bus bars down to where these fuses were and use that space there for the new contactor, but we'll see how much space I have. So try to get everything laid out today and mounted, and then tomorrow come and just wire it in. I have stuff on order, so like the terminal lugs for that over there, those 1/4" lugs, and just wire in everything to the new locations, and then program this guy and tinker and play with him. All right, so I'm taking these off, but when I laid all of this stuff out, I did it when it was outside of the trailer because it was raining in the winter. And naturally, underneath here, you can see that the nut and screws fell in between this trailer frame. So I'm lucky to have these super skinny wrenches, which I thought I would never use and were useless, but yeah, super helpful right now. All right, I had to move the battery over this way for weight and balance. I don't know why I set it up to the left. I thought maybe I could use that, but with this much weight, this close to the tongue, certainly want it centered. And it didn't work out over there with what I wanted to put there. So to move it, this gigantic battery, I had to use this crowbar and pry on it like that. And then when it got too far from the ledge, I had to rig up this little plywood setup so that I could get more leverage. So, problem solved. I'm up in the RV right now in the living room, and I'm taking the shelf apart because all this stuff is going to go in new locations and be rerouted, and this shunt trip massive breaker switch is going to be incorporated. So I need to find space. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this below the shelf because that's where the fan airflow comes in, and it will cool off these cooling fins, which will be a better location for it. And then to the left of it, I can put the bus bars just like this underneath, and then this thing here will mount here basically. So it'll be a better location for this, and because the space efficiency of the batteries, I got more space in a nutshell. So I couldn't put this one down underneath before. The whole reason I made the shelf was because I had to fit all this in and I was planning on getting another battery pack for the right corner, but I went with a battery pack that's 3 times the size and gives me more space to incorporate this. So it's a much better design, but a lot more work. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so this is it all taken apart. Shelves up there. Those are the tools it took. So yeah, gonna start over from scratch. Down there. So the purpose of this little module is to balance all of the cells. So it's the thing that dissipates heat, say from that cell, if that cell's too high or low. So basically this heat sink is what draws the energy to balance all the cells. So this little heat sink has to suck energy out so that one cell can charge faster than the other. But they didn't, it didn't come with a fan, so I had to buy these standoffs and the screws for them and take this module apart to put that on. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this fan. I got 2 of them, then I'm gonna put this one on. And then I'll probably cut this off and I will wire that into my 12-volt circuit here. And I'll probably have this bus controlled by the controller over here as a function of the heat that happens inside of here. So it will turn on these fans and those fans when the inside of this box gets above X temperature. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. All right, I guess not, because these are the wrong size. It looks like they were in the wrong bucket at the hardware store. So I actually decided not to do the top harness today, because then I'd have 17 wires all rat nesting over here in my way. So I decided to start working on the power stuff, because routing this stuff with the super thick cable is really difficult. These I can just flop around. But I think this is the new layout here, where the negative side is going to come directly off of here into the Class T fuse. So I'll make a little jumper from there to there. Then I've bus barred the Class T fuse into the new shunt. I need a spacer for the bottom there, and then I'll create a lug here and run that wire along here. And it will go directly into here, which is the new on-off switch with the shunt breaker. And then same thing on the positive side. So right here we have positive. So we've stepped it up from 0 volts over there all the way to 56 volts here. And I'll do the same thing. I'll make a jumper from there to the Class T fuse. And then the other side of this fuse will come up here and go into here. So I'll have positive and negative into here. This will be the main switch. And then to save space, I think I'm actually going to bus bar these guys directly together to that pole and that pole, rather than creating a jumper, which creates some space here. And then I'm going to mount the DC breaker here. So, you know, main battery comes in here, obviously, and then it comes out of here. And then basically these are the bus bars. So those 2 lugs will go down to the inverter, which is what gives me the magic power for the RV. And then I will come out of these 2 lugs and come around here and into this circuit breaker. And it's a 100 amp circuit breaker, because that's going to supply the current from the charger. So it'll come out of here and go under there. And the new charger location is in there. So yeah, so these here come from the solar panel PV array box, and then these will come from the battery down underneath and route underneath it there. So that's going to be the new routing setup, and I'm going to go ahead and start drilling some holes. Oh yeah, part of the reason why I'm going to bus bar these together and collapse this is I want to cut this piece off here so that I can have access to the front panel of the solar charge controller, which is down there. So I can just reach down in there, or I can look down in and I can see it. So that's why this is all being compressed that way. So I can cut this off and I can just see down on a solar charge controller. And this will basically be the switch that turns the solar charge controller on. So you can see that the old bus bars don't fit because of the corner. So what I did was I beveled those edges. It's not pretty, but it works. I used the hand bandsaw, and yeah, that's how I'm gonna bus bar it. All right, so it fits pretty well. I'm gonna reuse the holes from this one, and I'll have to re-drill these 2 new ones. And then to make the height fit with the new switch, I had to remove 1 1/4-inch block from each of these. So now it stands at the right height. So I was able to reuse basically everything, including the bus bars, to replace this switch. So I'm happy with that, and figure out the next step. All right, the plate's done. I still need to drill the holes for this big guy, but I need something. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off right here, and then I'll need a punch to punch through so I can find the holes for the big contactor. Next step, remove the shelf, and now I'm gonna do the bottom layer. I'm gonna punch the holes for this guy here. Those 4 holes. I'm gonna punch those 4 holes, and I'll see about doing this because I should get the spacer underneath first, and then I can do wiring tomorrow. All right, I'm wrapping up for the day. Cleaned up the workbench. I need my sunglasses. Got the wagon, which is nice, and I'm taking some stuff home to do at night, and we'll come back tomorrow. Hopefully finish the wiring if I'm lucky.
Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And join us on Patreon. Yeah, hopefully get those holes punched.